people who get paid a lot of money for what looks like doing nothing, right? Like if you're a TikToker or a YouTuber, people that's what you need to do is get rich by doing absolutely nothing. That's what our society really, really respects and honors. It doesn't respect the guy who, starts from nothing and brings his own business up with his own two hands and hard work.
Yeah, I was talking about the guy that does my lawn for me, and I go, how long you been doing this? He goes, 25 years. I go, how many yards you got in your book? He goes, I got 70 yards. I go, have you always been that busy? He said, it fluctuates, but it took me a while. He said it took me 2 years when I first started. The first 2 years of this, 25 years ago, you don't know how many times I wanted to quit because I would have 5 yards and I'd have 3 yards and I'd have 13 yards and I'd have 4 yards because it was rough getting out there and getting it out there on your own and the competition and everything. He said, but now the bad thing is I got all these yards and I need help to cut them, and I can't keep people on the lawnmowers wanting to cut them because it's too hot, and for the money I'm paying, it's not worth it. And he said it's not just I want everybody to understand it's not just the restaurant industry that's being affected. It's industries across the board that are being affected. Here's a guy that pays $20 an hour to his lawn care help and can't keep help. $20 an hour.
Sure.
Right? He doesn't offer benefits.
Sure.
But $20 an hour. And now I literally talked to a person who's worked in restaurants. They're a professional server. When I mean a professional server, they've been doing this over 20 years, and they're at a place now where on a given night, because of the clientele they deal with on a regular basis, they can make between $1,100 and $1,200 a night in tips. And I go, well, you're doing pretty well. You want to go? You're back at work, and I guess yeah, but if they really wanted to do it right, they'd pay us $25 an hour, and we wouldn't get any tips. Here's a guy that thinks in the restaurant business, he's in a restaurant where he could make 25, and that's a pay cut for him, by the way, because he only works 8 hours a night. So at $25 a night,
sure,
that's $200 a night.
Sure.
But he said he'd rather have that $200 a night and work 6 nights a week than to have. Was it going to be $1,100 a night, or is it going to be $450 tonight? Is it going to be $1,200 a night? Is it going to be $413 tonight? That they'd rather work in an environment like they do in Europe, by the way, where restaurant wait staff would all get paid, and they don't tip. It doesn't happen.
Correct.
So I think there's going to be a seismic shift in how the labor force is created and how they pay. And I think one of the first ones is the service industry. I could see within 4 or 5 years from now tips being a archaic thing. Am I wrong in that, or do you see it going that way as well?
Maybe, but I think our society is built on that. So I think that's a big seismic shift if it happens. I know there's a lot of people who are pushing for it. But anybody who's ever done that for a living probably thinks that's a terrible idea.
It's a horrible idea.
And as somebody who partakes in a lot of restaurants, their service needs to be incentivized.
Yes, and that's what a tip is. A tip incentivizes good service. It does.
Correct.
I'll give you a prime example.
Right.
Prime example. My wife and I went to a local eatery weekend before, not last weekend, but the weekend before last. And we always sit at the bar because that way you don't have to wait in line, you don't have to wait for a table and all. And the service at the bar is usually adequate, if not better. So the guy at the bar takes our order and everything, and sure enough, he gets everything out in a timely manner. But what they bring out to me is not what I ordered. And when you're paying, when the tab for you and your wife is going to be somewhere in the range of $90, you want what you paid for. I ordered a steak medium rare, got it medium. I had a side of shrimp and a side of mushrooms that came out. They were cold. So I say, look, I know this isn't your fault. You're not cooking back there. Can I speak to a manager? Sure. So the manager comes out. First off, most managers will come to you and speak to you intimately, like in a close setting. This manager goes on the other side of the bar and comes up and goes, "What's wrong?" Real loud, so everybody gets attention. I go, first off, there's no reason for you to be loud. I go, second off, I did this job for a very long time. Yeah, I get that all the time. I said, well, that's fine, Sparky, but I do this. I've done this for a very long time. And, the steak isn't cooked right. It's medium instead of medium rare, but I can eat that. That's fine. But then the shrimp came out cold and the mushrooms came out cold. I mean, you're 0 for 3. So I felt like I need to bring this to your attention. The only thing that's good is these green beans, and that's probably because they sat in the thermalizer waiting for everything. No, we don't thermalize anything. All right, Sparky, calm down. I'm just telling you what was brought to me was not adequate for the money I'm spending, and you need to address that. Well, what do you want me to do? Are you just looking for free food? Nobody ever mentioned free food, Sparky. I'm just trying to tell you how bad a situation you got coming out of that kitchen. I'm going to eat my food. I'm going to be happy. I'm going to pay my bill. My job as a former general manager of restaurants is to tell another manager if they got something going wrong so they can fix that situation. But this guy was adversarial right away. Well, that didn't, now, why is he adversarial? Well, he said, he come back later, you know, man, I'm understaffed. That doesn't confront me. That's a you problem, not a me problem. But I think more people are getting disenfranchised with restaurants because of that kind of service as well.
Sure. But as always the case with capitalism, whoever is the best at it will rise to the top.
Veterans helping veterans.
How capitalism works.
You'll see some just no longer be around because of their reputation got bad.
I don't know what the answer is to this job stuff, but this economist said.
Oh, I do.
Well, cut off the government funding. Yeah. Well, yeah. Cut off government funding. Cut off the $600 checks and the unemployment checks. Make people say, hey, by the way, your rent's due on the 1st. If your rent's not due, guess what? The sheriff's department's showing up, and we're putting stuff out on the sidewalk.
Yeah, and I believe in a social safety net. This is no longer a safety net; it's a penthouse. So it's like a hammock.
Well, they've went 18 months without having to pay rent. What happened if you're not paying rent but you're still working? Putting that money in a savings account because you got to pay the rent eventually.
Because then you don't qualify. It doesn't work that way. Then you don't qualify for the way the rules work. Right? You have to prove that COVID has hurt you. It's not free rent across the board, right? Like if you kept your job, you still have to pay your rent. So you have to apply for relief. It's just very easy to get if you're unemployed.
Well, I was unemployed after when COVID hit. I lost all my trivia nights and went from doing 4 or 5 videos a week to 1 video a week because people shut down. And I applied for all of that stuff and got told, yeah, don't apply again.
Yeah, well, different. Yeah, if you're self-employed, it was a completely different world. So there's nobody to bail you out.
Hey, Galen, we got about a minute. Guess who just walked in the studio?
No idea.
Sheriff Billy Woods is in the studio.
Oh, all right.
He's got some sort of paperwork. Some sort of paper. It's a warrant of some sort for Galen. You know, I don't know. I'll tell him where you are. That's all I can do. Something.
That's all right. He probably knows my address.
Looks like it's something about horrible play-by-play guy in football, and that's a crime. I don't know what that means.
Well, I live in the city, but just remember he's an elected official.
Oh, no. He will remind you, even though you live in the city is in his county.
Absolutely
So
correct.
keep that in mind. Hey, Galen, where's the Bloodmobile at today?
Hey, Bloodmobile today, we're actually at the Walmart in Leesburg, but come see us right here on the Boulevard in Ocala, 1607 East Silver Spring Boulevard. We've been in that building for over 30 years, and we're proud to call Ocala home. So come by and see us, and you can call us at 622-3544. Check us out at lifestyle.org.
Galen, join everyone in the thank you folks for Galen, I'll give you a mark. We'll be right back after time out with the sheriff of Marion County. Right here on 1378 96.
Broadcasting from the Ocala International Airport, this is WOCA AM, W242CA FM, Ocala, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
Today in Ag News, from the southeast Ag Navajo, Florida, farmers, ranchers, and forest owners could apply